Hey there, DragonCon, and welcome to, you ready for this, folks? This is Doctor Who Spinoffs, Past and Future. We're here with the BritTracks, and this is our Earth Station Who panel for DragonCon this year. Let's say hi to everybody who is here with us tonight. Of course, first, Mr. Howdy himself, Mr. Mike Gordon.
Howdy!
And Ms. Mary Ogle is here.
Hi, everybody. It is fantastic to be here.
And from the Traveling TARDIS, Christian Basil is here.
Hello, fellow Whovians. Welcome to another edition. Tickle.
Stop tickling the people above you, sir. Tonight we are going to be looking at, of course, Doctor Who spinoffs. And there has been quite a few spinoffs. Because, I'm going to put this out to everybody right from the start. Because a spinoff could also be a comic book. It could also be a movie spinoff. It could be, television shows. And it could be so many multiple things. And pretty much Doctor Who has been doing comics and such since the 60s. And so it's pretty amazing what we have. And now that it's almost like a new era of Doctor Who is upon us, we have, the possibility of new spinoffs. We touched on it a couple times on our show. And I know, Christian, you guys have hinted at it and talked about it a little bit on Traveling TARDIS. And so it's kind of some fun stuff that we can talk about tonight. So please, let's jump in with both feet. When people say Doctor Who spinoffs, now lately they think Sarah Jane Adventures, Class, and of course Torchwood, and for TV shows. But Doctor Who magazine has been publishing comics forever, and you got some companions that have actually spun off into the TV show. And we actually have coming up from the Doctor Who comics in the specials in November, we're having characters from the comics, which is pretty amazing. So it's pretty cool. What are your guys' thoughts on this? Wow, everybody at once.
This is a good start to the panel.
He's in the corner, the starting corner.
I'm in the starting corner.
Yep.
Huh?
Exactly.
Well, as you said, Mike, Doctor Who spinoffs, of course, it became like a thing that Russell T Davies really embraced, because he didn't think of Doctor Who as just one show. He thought of it as a complete universe. And we are seeing, we're on the verge of seeing that reopen again with the Doctor Who verse. Because he has made it quite clear that going forward, it's not just going to be one series. He's going to open it up into many series, much as the way a lot of franchises are now. Of course, DC, Marvel actually gets a lot of credit for doing that, I think. But I think if you, like you said, Mike, as you go back further and further, I think Doctor Who was doing spinoffs earlier. And
pretty much almost from the beginning in a lot of ways.
Well, yeah. I mean, they had their kind of, if you want to count their spin-off movies with Peter Cushing as kind of a weird sort of spin-off, sure. That was very early on. So, yeah, I mean, obviously the term spin-off can be quite open like that. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned the comics, the novels, etc. And I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention Big Finish, who's probably responsible for some of the most famous and successful spin-offs that have ever, like, as part of this franchise.
Mm-hmm. And it featured multiple doctors. Folks, if you have not been listening to the Big Finish audios, you guys are missing out on a lot. And it even has now new series characters and doctors. So it's pretty awesome what they're going to do. And it's just going to keep on growing and growing. You're eventually going to probably see Jodie's doctor in there. You're possibly Matt Smith or Capaldi. And, it's just going to be cool. Because right now you have Doctor 9 and 10 from the new series. It's pretty amazing stuff that they're doing. And they have characters like River Song, Missy, and Unit. And then so it's just awesome what they're doing. And then, of course, the classic doctors, they have all the way from 1 all the way up to 8. It's pretty amazing what they're doing with it. So
also,
it's pretty cool.
Episodes. I'm really hoping with the return of RTD, we get a lot more, of the in-between type of things, the prologues and the epilogues that he used to do, and even Moffat did in the beginning. I've really missed those. And, things like bringing Paul McGann back for that in between little snippet of what happened to his doctor. So
Night of the Doctor.
yeah, there's just so many directions we can go, and I think it's very exciting that we have RTD because he's very open to exploring all these new avenues.
Exactly. And it's, he's not opposed to, bringing in minor characters into a new spin-off or such, and characters that we know and love, we might be seeing back on the big screen again because we're going to get these spin-offs. And so it's going to be interesting to see. And we're going to speculate. There has not been really anything written in stone yet. There's been very heavy rumor that we're going to get a unit spin-off, but it has not been formally announced by BBC yet. So it'll be very interesting to see. We have one more person joining us. So we're going to have Melanie Dean join us. Yay! After much crying and yelling at her computer, she's back in.
I like your background too. I like what's going on here.
That is
my
awesome.
Living room. That's my living room and my husband's laptop because then mine didn't work, and so it was a feverish race to technology. But hello, everyone. My
Melanie.
Apologies for the delay.
We're glad to have you. So we've just been talking about different Doctor Who spin-offs, anything from the comics to the movies, to even, the Big Finish audios we were just talking about a bit. And so we haven't really gotten into what's to come yet and what we would like to see, but we're still touching on the past, because out of all the Doctor Who spin-offs, TV-wise, series-wise, what do you think was the most successful? Do you think it was Sarah Jane, or do you think it was Torchwood? I'm not even going to bring up Class because that was not a success.
K9.
K9 and Company.
The Canadian version.
Yes.
I think that Torchwood, honestly was the biggest one that I think was most successful out of all of them. But then again, you could really make a case for the Sarah Jane Adventures, because a lot of the stuff, especially after she had passed, and they did a lot of Goodbye Bannerman Road. So many people came out of the woodwork for that. So I think the touch of the Sarah Jane Adventures, I think, was a lot more than I had even realized how many people loved it. When you compare it against like the ratings of Torchwood, so I think the Torchwood was definitely the best one. But yeah, good case could be made for the other.
Well, it's interesting too, because Torchwood, you had 3 seasons produced by BBC alone, but then they did that wonderful American spin-off or collaboration.
That thing.
Yes.
Yeah,
it's kind of like Class. We pretend it's not there.
The series of which we will not speak its name.
But even then, I do enjoy now that RTD is trying to have more of this hopeful multiverse-ish, trying to build a universe for Doctor Who, or the Whoniverse.
Sure.
It would be kind of neat if he did revisit Class, even if it's just to keep pulling other, snippets, like even how other franchises are trying to build more, even if it's just quick little callbacks.
Should we call it Class the next year or something like that?
or just
the next generation.
Or even if you have like some stunt casting where you bring in a character or two, because I really did like a lot of the characters. I just think it didn't find its feet fast enough, and it is what it is. But you can always, bring back a couple of a character here or there, or even just when they're talking, even if you have like even Shooty just saying something about one of the characters back there, be kind of neat. Just kind of saying, no, we still remember this, and maybe it could be better.
Okay. Oh, you remember that time at Coal Hill School? Or something like that.
Everybody's like, no.
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 And it blew up. And it's gone. Everybody's gone.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Oh, wait. Coal Hill School. Wasn't that the first place you saw the Daleks actually fly up the stairs? So... Oh, wait, that's the 7th Doctor. Sorry.
Well, Mike, we're not really done with the past yet. There's
so much to talk about in the past.
Yeah, there's so many nuggets in there. Downtime. That just gets lost into the equation, but some people consider it still canon out there. Before even Sarah Jane Adventures, K9 and Company.
Mm-hmm.
Or the K9 Canadian spinoff, and Sarah having her own Sarah Janes, and the explanation how she ended up with K9 and the Five Doctors. I mean, there's so much of that going on. What about the
There was an Australian version of K9.
there was, yeah, that's what I mentioned. There was an Australian version, but it moved over.
Where they
and then
basically
K9 got a reboot.
redesigned K9 from scratch and made him look like I don't even want to remember what he looked like because it was really bad.
Right.
But
But also things like what about webcasts? Death Comes to Time, Real Time. Those episodes are, there was like so much of the Whoniverse. Big Finish alone, you couldn't even wrap your head around it. There's more audio than TV shows. And how many spinoffs do they have? Jenny, the Pasternatter Gang, Jago and Lightfoot. The list goes on and on. Gallifrey, we have our third Romana in the form of Juliet Landau. I mean, the list just keeps going.
Oh, yeah. So much
just continues to expand. And we finally got something I never thought I would ever see in my lifetime, where RTD kind of dabbled into the comic and Big Finish and brought on Beat the Meat. We're seeing him for the very first time in the 60th anniversary. And I'm saying, why not? You have this wonderful treasure trove of characters, stories that are just scattered all throughout everything. And now what do you have? Doomsday.
Well, it's interesting because with us getting Beep the Meat, it gives me hope that we're probably going to see Frobisher. Hopefully.
Yes.
I have a lot of hope.
Come on, with Disney money, we definitely can get a talking point in there, folks. Which would be awesome.
All I'm saying is they better have good CGI. That's it. They're going to go.
I don't want it to be like Lion King-y.
Oh, no.
I wasn't really a fan of the live action of that.
No, I think that there's possibilities because seeing the pictures I've seen of Beep, he looks amazing. Mm-hmm. And that's all.
Yeah, they're actually very faithful to the way he looked in the comics.
Well, speaking of spinoffs, if we're going down this route, I have a question for the panel who may be familiar with it. Do you honor Brig Bag's series, the BBVs? Do you think that they're considered
canon?
Well, do you think they belong in the Whoniverse or not? Or are they
That's a good question.
Or there's something out there. For those of you who are not familiar, during, I guess, better terms of downtime, there was a gentleman by the name Bill Braggs who took a lot of the Doctor Who alumni at that point, and he wrote a series called The Stranger, The Probe. I can't remember, but it starred Caroline John. The Probe. I even had the video. But it starred John Pertwee, Sylvester McCoy, Colin Baker, and Peter Davison. The Air Zone Solution, is that part of something that's in there just because it has For the Doctor starring in there? I meant
always a possibility.
Yeah, how do we ring these in, or are they even a part of it? So is Bill Braggs part of that canonization?
Well, and that gets into the whole question then, are these spin-offs that we've seen in the past canon, just in general? Because for a long time, people were saying, oh, no, Big Finish isn't canon, or the comics are not canon, and such. But now we're getting some of the bleed over.
Well, things can change. Nothing is static.
And nothing is 100% either. I mean, just because a couple of characters from Big Finish are mentioned in an official like BBC, product doesn't mean that everything the Big Finish has done is canon. Right. So I mean, it's really, it comes down to really quite simply, if BBC owns it or is paying for it, then it's canon. If they're not, then it's not.
They say it is.
Yeah, I mean, the fans can, we can conjecture all we want and consider headcanon and whatever we like to have canon, but the fact of the matter is that, if the Terry Nation State tomorrow said no more Daleks, Doctor Who, then guess what? The Daleks would no longer be.
Yeah, that's not going to happen
in the future. Part of Doctor Who. So
somebody had mentioned this to me, and he thinks this is how it should be arranged. If it came on TV, it's TV canon. If it came on Big Finish, it's Big Finish canon. If it came on something else, it's that canon for that. So shut up. It's that canon for that social media that they kind of. You can say that, like Beat the Meat, he's finally showed up, so now that bridge is in there. But that doesn't necessarily mean the comics and the ratings war and anything that he's been in.
Well, that's true.
There.
But it's like...
It just means Beat the Meat's there. So the character's there.
Well, a few people have already said, I've heard at different panels even, that Torchwood isn't even part of it's not even canon for Doctor Who, because it almost like spinned off into a different universe in some ways over the seasons. After like the first 2 seasons, it seemed like when they did the Children of Earth, and then that one we will not speak of, is not canon. So
Yeah, I think it's not even, I'm not sure that's the right question to ask, whether something is canon or not, because it's not, people think of canon as this monolithic thing. It isn't. It's constantly changing. Things are coming in and out. The new showrunner comes along and changes everything. New people running the BBC changes everything. The BBC does a partnership with somebody, that changes everything. You have, RTD drew a lot from books that were released in the wilderness years. So they technically became part of canon when he used those tidbits and episodes.
Oh, there's a wonderful David Tennant story that came from an amazing book by Paul Cornell.
Yes, that was a book first.
Yes. And so it was it's interesting because you had Human Nature was an amazing book, but it was originally with the 7th Doctor, and they redid it and created the script, and I could see them doing that for other things, but the book itself is not canon because they did it as Dr. 10 instead with Martha.
Right. As Mary said, it's kind of interesting because I do think a lot of people get the terms canon and continuity confused, and both can change. But it's like, yeah, Doctor Who, as we all know as fans, especially those of us who have followed it from, the almost 60 years it's been on now, is terrible at continuity. like consistently with continuity is terrible. So, this canon kind of, Big Finish and some other folks have, talking about spinoffs that tried to fill in some of those gaps or answer some of those questions as to why sometimes continuity gets broken, but that in and of itself doesn't count. But as you said, Mike, as Human Nature, that book itself is not part of canon, but since BBC bought the script, had Paul Cornell write the script for the 10th Doctor, that is now considered canon. So that's how that works. But I don't know if spinoffs necessarily have to worry about that. I don't think fans really care. I mean, in some ways they do, but I think the other thing that people have to be concerned with is that the more you open up a world, the less you have in terms of maybe artistic oversight. And so therefore some things can come across that are not quite as good maybe as the home product. Certainly we're starting to see that with the MCU. And we've seen that with other franchises as well. So if, I do think that there is that concern that, if RTD is over everything, I mean, how far can he oversee if he's spreading, you don't want to see him spread himself too thin.
Mm-hmm. And then, but it's interesting. Let's dive back into more of what we want to see now with some of the, spinoffs and everything, future spinoffs. We've joked about it on the show. We've talked about, do we want to see, who do we want to see? I can name 5 right off the top of my head that I would like to see, but I want to hear what you guys have to say first. And, Melanie, since you're here last, you got to go first. Who would you like?
Want it. Okay, so if I can just 5 characters or what have you.
You can just name one if you want. We can just go around and, talk.
Just any spinoff you would like to see. I was just saying,
off the top of my head, I could think of 5. So
it's sad. It's like I really do want more Strax. I want more. I like the Paternoster gang. I'm always going to kind of knee jerk right to Strax because I love having that style of humor where it's so dry. And I think honestly, my favorite gifts ever to use is between Strax and Clara, where he just calling her boy and here's the paper and throwing the newspaper at her head. And I want more Strax. Give me more Strax.
I think there's a lot of possibility what they could do with the Paternoster gang, especially I don't want to see them as time travelers, but
No,
no,
keep them there.
No,
Keep
just
them
running
there.
around
keep
solving
them in the
mysteries in
Victoria era.
Victorian London.
Yeah,
That
I
would be
think that would be
awesome.
amazing stories. There's so much they could do, and there's been so many Doctor Who stories that have touched on that. And they could even be in some of the stories following up on some of the stories that happened in Doctor Who and such, and what happened after the Doctor left, type thing. You could do what the aftermath of the Wai Chang, or you could do the big giant Cybermen that came out of London's river, the steampunk one. And
one question, if I'm not good with time, no matter even though this is Doctor Who and whatnot, but wouldn't the Jackson Lake Doctor be around the same era as the Paternoster gang?
That was Victorian.
It was Victorian, right? It wasn't Edwardian, it was Victorian.
No, I think it was Victorian.
Because that's when I'm like, I want that. Please. Give me
it
that.
would be
That's the
great to see
crossover.
Jackson Lake crossover into that.
Well,
He
they've
was a
already
great character.
had Strax crossover with Jago and Lightfoot. They were around as well during that time. And that was a very entertaining, what was it, Jago and Lightfoot and Strax, a very great episode.
Well, even in the Paternoster gang that they did, I think it was the last set they did, had Django and Lightfoot in it. So it was interesting to see because how they tied it in with, Wei Chang. So there's so much possibility with the Paternoster gang. And I feel like the episode that they did with the 11th Doctor, what was it, the Scarlet Death or something like that, if I remember?
The
red, yeah, it was one. We're experts, folks. Really, we are.
No, Google's the expert.
Crimson
Horror. The Crimson Horror.
That's right. All you had to say was Crimson. I remembered. And thank you, Mr. Gordon. But it was awesome, because that felt like that was a pilot for a Paternoster gang series right there. And I thought, because the Doctor and Clara were barely in that until like the last half of it. And so I definitely think they can carry a series. I definitely think. Great one, Melanie. Mary Ogle, what about you?
Oh, wow. There's so many possibilities. But I think the one we're most likely to get is Unit. And I think I would love to see Gemma Redgrave, have some more agency, really be the star of the story. And I mean, Unit is just ripe for the picking because it just makes so much sense to explore all the ways in which they would be involved in, alien invasions or, any sort of mishap that might happen in the greater London area that none of the residents seem to notice. And you don't need the Doctor for that. I really think that Unit could hold their own in creating exciting, having an exciting storyline and something that would be easy to go over a whole season.
Who would you want to see as supporting characters in it?
Oh, Osgood.
Osgood.
I would so totally want to see Osgood. I'm not sure if she would want to be part, a full-time as part of a series, but I would love to see her. I would love to see the Tegan, Ace.
Martha?
They were so good in
Martha.
Martha. Oh man, imagine being able to see, Martha get a real shot at having storylines that are centered around her.
I would be happy to see Graham in the.
Well, that's I was trying.
That's just saying Graham should be in every spin-off. So.
I was trying to think of what would be bad spin-offs, and I came up with the Graham and Ryan show. Adric in the Afterlife.
That has been fired.
Mary.
Cyber Brigadier.
Send him to Marvel.
Well, Benton is still alive, so he can be popping. Ian Levine could be popping.
Oh my god!
Oh no!
Just saying. All right, Christian. What about you, my friend?
You know what? For the longest time, and I know Lisa Bowerman's going to kill me if I say it this way. I wanted Bernice Summerfield to come onto the main screen at least once, at least show her presence. But I kind of feel now her character is so embedded in Big Finish. Maybe she should stay there. But if we are going to be looking into spin-offs, let's bring in Bernice Summerfield. I mean, she has technically met all the Doctors, I think, at this point. And she's had her own universe, especially with alternate Third Doctor, God rest his soul, David Warner. And I can't wait until the 60th anniversary when I hear David and Christopher Eccleston getting together. That's going to be awesome. If you're not going to bring RTD and close up, if you're not going to bring Katie Manning back as Joe Jones, bring her back as Iris Wildtime. I think that would be awesome. Just once to see Iris Wildtime. I know I'm pulling the ranks out from Big Finish, but there's so much good stuff that people who are just focused on the TV show itself, why not dip into the well of Big Finish and bring them all in there?
There's some amazing characters that they've created.
What was it? Lady Christina D'Souza. She has her own series. Jenny, she has their own series.
Missy has her own series.
We have a third Romana and a second Ronnie. Bring them in. I mean, what are they doing out there? And especially, I don't know if you can. I mean, what are all the Time Lords doing? Rassilon, Omega. I know we kicking Rassilon off the planet. What's he doing these days? Omega, where is he going? Is he still trapped in that black hole out there? Did he fight in the Time War? Drax. I thought I can't think of the comedian's name, but in the Key to Time, I can't think of if anybody can put it in the chats out there. I think it was Barry something. But I thought Drax was an awesome character to toy around with because he was buddies with the Doctor. And this is the first time ever we heard Theta Sigma and his college life. What's he doing nowadays?
Mm-hmm.
Romana, we have a third Romana, Juliet Landau. Bring her in. How did she lose Gallifrey? We could probably expand on the Gallifrey series to see how the Time War affected her, how we went from, Lala's still around, so we could probably have that regeneration between Lala and Juliet. I mean, there's so much that Big Finish is right on, and it's explained.
Well, they could even do the Time War if you wanted to get into it.
If we could, but we don't have John Hurt anymore. We have a gentleman who does his voice reasonably well. But I wish John was still around, and we could probably
do the Time War without focusing on the Doctor.
Yeah, I would think completely. There's so many other characters they could touch on, so I think there's definitely.
Definitely, Paul McGann needs at least 3 seasons to explain the Time War and get him going on. That would definitely,
of course. All right, Mr. Gordon, your turn.
I don't think it's going to be any surprise. I'm just surprised no one's mentioned it yet, especially with all the other people you mentioned having a successful Big Finish series. But River Song. Not the theme. Do not bring the theme into live action.
The theme.
Come on, Murray. You can come up with something much better
Way
than that.
better.
I know. I don't know if she's got her own. Actually, I don't think she has her own theme yet, but that would be really cool. Anyway. She's been a popular
she does
character.
have a theme. She has a Murray Gold theme.
Right. She's been a popular character in the series itself, and I think she and Alex Kingston has proven that she can hold a series together on her own. And she's done over 50 Big Finish adventures. I mean, if she's not tired of doing the character at this point, because she's done so many, I would say that's for her to have a series is a no-brainer or be part of a series because to me she's one of the most exciting characters that's come out of New Who. And like I said, if I'm looking at it from a RTD business perspective, I think it makes the most sense. I mean, she's been one of the most popular characters that they've had, and you can do so much with her and have a lot of fun. And this one's not going to be for the kiddies.
No.
This is not going to be another. This is not going to be another Sarah Jane's adventure.
Well, the kiddies will learn something new that day. So just
yeah.
We bring in
this
Captain
is
Jack
going to go
Harkness
where
and
no
it's all
Doctor Who has gone before, not even Torchwood, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
I don't see River doing really well.
The lipstick with. No.
I don't see River doing well like in a Sarah Jane Adventures kind of style where she has like a few kids in her charge.
No.
It's like this is how not to babysit.
Yeah. This is like, that's how to kill a series.
Yeah.
But it's interesting though, because in the Big Finish adventures, she's had sidekicks and she's had people, working with her. I could definitely see them doing that in a regular series too.
I forgot which
Yeah.
series it was in Big Finish, but I would love to see if they can involve it somehow. Bring in the Eighth Doctor and bring in the Eric Roberts Master. Finally, give him at least one more episode out there just to toy around with things and have River Song be the centerpiece of the two. I think that would be a fun little episode right there. Then we can explain how, and I know they did it in Big Finish, but they can now say it on TV, how that master got out of that predicament he had at the end of the TV movie. So I thought that would be awesome.
And he was just kidding about the Doctor being half human, so that would be good.
Well, that's another thing about when you were talking about canon earlier, and I was showing the quote from Leonard Nimoy that he mentioned about canon. And I don't know if you want to go back to it, but I think it's important to be a little bit on the canon. We have to have some kind of streamlined reality, or else everything is going to go completely ballistic. And there's going to be 5 explanations for 6 things that we weren't planning. And then we're like, okay, so what about this? Or what about that? And as Whovians, we've always had to cover up the mistakes. Half human on my mother's side. So either we bury it.
It's
stuff
a
like that.
We just enjoy everything and we don't eat what we want. It's
Right, but
Who.
But when it says boneless chicken and I crunch on the bone,
Go for it then.
Yeah, but you see, that's always going to happen because every showrunner is going to inject their own philosophy of where the Doctor's story should go.
Let me ask this question right now. Quick answer in 20 words or less. What is the Eye of Harmony?
Who cares?
Yeah.
It really.
I
Like,
rest
I
my
don't.
case.
Isn't it a black hole in the center of the TARDIS
I don't.
that powers it?
I don't.
One of many answers there.
I whatever the story wants it to be. Like I don't. Like I'm definitely in favor of giving writers and creators like the freedom to do whatever like that the story needs it to tell, like that they want to tell, because that's what makes it most exciting to me. And I think Doctor Who is a perfectly great show because it can take leaps like that. It can change things like that. And it has. That's why it's been around for 60 years, is because even though you look back at the original, like the William Hartnell years and all that stuff, it's still Doctor Who. There's still those kernels that you can recognize as that Doctor Who show. It's the same show that we're watching now, but it also is very different. And you can't point to a lot of other franchises being able to do that successfully.
Well, I think if you're going to have a show that lasts that long, I mean, a lot has changed in the world over the last 60 years, and the show's going to reflect that. And I hope it does. I don't want it to remain the same thing, because then it just gets stagnant and boring and, eventually fades away.
Well, that's one of the things I've always said, and I've said it in many panels at Dragon Con, is one of the things I've always loved about Doctor Who. Doctor Who is always about change, and that's the great thing about it. If you don't like a doctor, wait 3 years. There'll be a new one. If you don't like a showrunner, wait 6 years. There's going to be a new one, and that's the great thing with Doctor Who. It's always about change. Nothing ever stays the same. It's not like for a whole season the Doctor is stuck on Earth or anything like that. Not lately. So it's cool with that. But yeah, it's everything. Every time you see Doctor Who gets new companions all the time. It's about change. And that's what's great about it. And that's the cool thing about it. And I could see, one of the ideas I've heard for a possible spinoff is a villain spinoff. And it would have different stories about the different villains and such. But I don't want to see the villains being the heroes in those stories. That's the thing. Because they're purposely villains and everything. You're always gonna have the master, twisting his or her mustache, and and then you have the Daleks. You can't see the Daleks doing anything good in a series, or the Cybermen. or something like that,
So
or the
it's almost
Ice
supposed to be
Warriors.
muscle.
It all depends. I could see the Cyber Brigadier had a mustache, so that was okay. But,
I'm all for. I'm hoping this show will continue on beyond me when we get as far as the 25th Doctor, who's played by David Tennant the Fourth, and this will continue on and on and on. I do appreciate and accept that there are changes, and especially if we're going to be moving into years. But there's some things that still need to be a fine reality. Otherwise, the Doctor can walk out of this BC box and tell me that that's the TARDIS at that moment, but there's no explanation, no reason why, or anything. And people want a good story, and I think that's what canon does. It challenges the writers to say, we have something established, there's something here. Otherwise, we're going to accept that, Abraham Lincoln Vampire Hunter is consistent with the real Abraham Lincoln, which is a cool story, but we know Abraham Lincoln was not a vampire hunter. So there's some things that we just
take for it. What other spin-offs would you like to see happen, though? Would you, and this is opening up to anything. Do you want to, I would love to see more stories of the companion support group. I think that would be pretty awesome.
Yeah, almost like a companion chronicles type of thing, which is another thing that Big Finish did. But yeah, it'd be wonderful to sort of delve into the backstories of the companions and how they survived after leaving the TARDIS, because that's a pretty big change in your life, from traveling through time and space to just being restricted to Earth again. How do you deal with that? What do you do? What do you do to keep that sense of fulfillment going? And I think that would be an interesting thing to explore.
I can't think of I think it's Peter Teague with the new box sets that are coming out for the Doctor Who Prime and Classic series, that we're starting to see those little nuggets of things that have taken place after, like what happened to Perry. She married Ikanos, and now we know that he's passed, or at least in this little segment of that season where he's passed. He's passed, and we see her
she's a ruler.
She's a ruler, yeah. We've seen Tegan. She's still fighting the Mara. That still hasn't subsided. So the companions having their own spin-off stories from what moments that took place after the Doctor, or what the moments that Sarah Jane had left the TARDIS. What she was ended up in Aberdeen, or things of that nature.
Sure.
Into little tiny spin-offs. And Peter Teague has already pushed that envelope. So I'm saying, hey, Russell T, wouldn't it be great to push it even further to see a story that is post-companion? How they affected them? Did the companions get married? Did they have children? Did they have their own adventures? They become something else? Did they become evil? How's Turlough doing? He's running a planet, as far as we're concerned. I mean, he wanted to kill the Doctor. What effect did that change him when he met the Black Guardian? So small things like that they're just that were just left around, laying around. Let's take a look at that. Let's explore it.
There's so much story to be told with former companions, and I definitely,
especially since a lot of them. Let's face it, all of them, and all of us are not getting any younger. So use them while they're still around. I mean, there's some of the ones who are there from the beginning are still with us, and let's use them, because it's going to be sad when they're not.
There's one from the very beginning that has not been used, and there's so much story to be told. What happened to Susan? And it's you saw the picture of Susan on Peter Capaldi's desk when he was at the college, but that's the closest they've come to any kind of explanation or anything with her. And wouldn't it be just nice and easy have Carol Ann Ford come into one of the 60th anniversary specials and everything? She regenerates into a younger actress. You have a full storyline right there. Exactly.
Ready made.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I know Georgia Moffat wants to do, more of, the Doctor's daughter, which So,
if we were to bring companions back in an essence, how would you feel about deepfake?
Like what?
Like if you wanted to restore a companion to look as though that they had just walked off the TARDIS.
No.
Do you mean making the original actors look younger, or actually using different, like just plastering a fake face on a body?
I'm leaving it open. I'm just
I
leaving
don't-
that question open. To
I don't think
fair.
they're going to have that kind of budget, truthfully.
Yeah.
They
Well,
do
you did
now.
say
They have
that-
Sunny.
This
They have
isn't-
Sunny.
This
Yeah.
isn't pushing in Rogue One kind of money.
Yeah.
They have
I mean,
Sony budget.
Mm.
Now
Disney
they
is,
do.
Disney Plus is probably not going to okay that kind of
No.
money. But I mean, and look, there are folks striking about this right now. So until all of that gets resolved, I don't think I'm just going to wait to see what the
and
smoke
there's-
clears on that.
There's
So-
a right way and a wrong way to do it. I think right now with
Well, there's consent and there's no consent.
right, like in the
Right.
like in the Mandalorian right now, them using Mark Hamill and a body double, and in tandem they're bringing back Luke Skywalker with all the technology. So I mean, there's a little bit more care there, and I'm good with that because you're seeing all these different components being they're using everything as a tool to be more creative to give us more life into the character. That I'm good with. I'm not deep fake. No. It's cute and fun for YouTubes and yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think that's completely different because Mark Hamill is agreeing to that and saying,
Yes, exactly.
I'm perfectly okay with you doing
Yes.
this, which is entirely different from just using some actor that you're then placing, say, a passed away actor's face
Yes.
on. There's no consent there.
Yeah.
They have not said it's okay to use my image.
Right. And so I think that borders on some very interesting territory. And now I'd like to see these characters, maybe if as they appear now and everything. That's what I loved seeing at the end of the last episode with Jodie, seeing the support group, seeing how everyone's changed, how everyone's gotten a little bit older or a lot a bit older.
Even with the doctors.
Yeah.
And then they kind of just talked, and they even did a little tongue-in-cheek thing of, you don't look like the way I remember you. I'm like, oh, well, it's just...
Well, the other thing they could do, and actually Caro just brought this up. She's messaging me on the side. Hi, Caro. Everyone wave to Caro. Hi. And everything. So she brought up they could animate it, though.
Yes.
And everything. That would save some money there.
True. But I mean, that's the same... That comes in across the same issues as long as they're using characters that with the actors' permission and that kind of thing. So I mean, that's the way I see that. But I mean, I don't know. I mean, Doctor Who animation has had some success, but I don't know if the future is an animated series of any kind. I mean, I'd be on board with it, but I don't. It doesn't seem like they've had mixed success with it. Let's put it that way.
Oh, yeah.
Well, what about? I mean, David Bradley plays the first Doctor. Bring on the Big Finish actors and fill in the blanks for those episodes that were lost or destroyed. Would you accept that?
I mean, I don't know. I would like to see everything that was be brought back. That's for sure. In some version.
Sadie
animated
Miller.
They're
or
already doing the
otherwise.
animated though. In that
Yeah.
regards.
Yeah,
Sadie Miller,
absolutely.
Sarah Jane. You could have that.
But
So-
I would like to see Paul McGann have some little spin-off series since we saw him in the Jodie episode with him refusing to wear the robes, which I thought was
There's
just
always
absolutely
one.
brilliant.
I love that.
There's always one. And that he's still wearing his stuff, which to me goes, hey, look, he still has a costume. He still fits in it. We now see
Yes,
what he
he
looks
does.
like. Give me the content, please.
Mhm.
Or even if he didn't have his own series, it'd be great to just have him guesting on, whatever spinoffs do happen, because there's no reason why he couldn't show up in a unit series. Or, I mean, imagine him meeting River Song.
Oh my
Oh,
God.
that'd be amazing.
You could have a lot of fun with that.
Do you see any of these spin-offs, Captain Jack returning in any of them, or yay or nay?
I'm
Because I know a
hopeful.
lot of people are still very anti-Barrowman.
I'm hopeful for Barrowman because he has never he's not wavered on being apologetic for his actions, and even when after it and he was apologetic before they came to light again after we're never going to see Mickey anytime soon.
Oh God.
After Dole brought him up, or threw him on the boat, whatever. So I'm hopeful that he keeps staying the course and keeping his nose clean and being thoroughly apologetic and still making, you know, hopefully the good keeps happening, and maybe we'll see him. We'll see. I'm hopeful.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I do think that, you know, it's taken us this long to mention Captain Jack, and that would have been unheard of 5 years ago. Like, I think we all would have thought, like, ooh, we're going to have a spinoff. Captain Jack's got to be part of that because he was such a huge part, especially of Russell T Davies' run on Doctor Who. So I would not, you know, I'm hoping that at some point he can come back and do something, because I like Melanie. I think he believes that I think he was earnest in his apology, and he's just too damn good to just let sit on the sidelines for the rest of his life.
And it's not that much for him to dye his hair, and he looks pretty much the same still.
Yeah, he just lost a lot of weight.
You know,
Yeah,
I mean, he's getting to look more like the face of Bo. So
yeah, well, that's okay.
I mean, so that's part of, what is it, continuity,
Yes.
whatever it is,
And
right? So
grows.
that's on brand, right? That's on brand.
It'll be like the Weird Al video of fat. His face will just expand out. And it'll turn into the face of Bo.
Blows up.
Exactly. You know, we could do, also, I was thinking about that they could do a mini series with Rose and the Hand Doctor.
I'd watch it.
Yeah.
I am shocked to hear you say that.
I know, that's what I just took right into. I'll watch it.
That's why it's not a full series. It's a mini series.
Oh, that was the caveat.
Because I don't think Tennant would agree to a full series anyway.
Probably not. But I mean, I don't know. I think they, you know, despite how you feel about them, I think they had chemistry together, and I think it would be fun to see them together. So it was part of the fun of seeing them in the 50th, and you know, I think I'd watch it. You know,
I might.
I think I'm like, well, I would watch it, but I don't know if more people would watch it. I think after the 60th, they're going like, okay, why we bring him back again?
No,
I
the
mean,
real sugars are strong. They're out there. They'll come.
No, I'm sure there's a core audience. Yeah, I will confess, I will watch it, but I'm just like, many people are now being begrudged because he's coming back again for what, a third shot at the Doctor, and there are people that are just, I've seen in discussions just like, why are we bringing him back? Why are we moving forward? Why don't we just start with Shooty and start with Disney Plus? So I'm sure RTD's got a good story for what's going to happen in those 3 episodes. He's only in there for 3 episodes, and then, you know, he goes over to Shooty. But that's a very good question. Why don't we just start with Shooty? Start at Disney Plus. He could have been the 60th anniversary. I'm just for all my cards are on the table for RTD to do a good job as far as what's going to be happening next. But I think after a while, David said it best in his retirement speech. I think that when he was doing, I think what was King Lear, Hamlet, and when he was doing Hamlet, he was backstage and he made the announcement that he was leaving Doctor Who. He goes, at some point they're going to haul me out in a wheelchair if I don't leave. So at some point, I think people are just going to go, okay, I think we've run our course. Now, if he comes back in the 70th anniversary or something like that, nobody's going to begrudge that. But to just return because, and Paul McGann hasn't had his shot on the TV set, or bring in new doctors and new faces. Everybody's saying, hey, we're here for change. Well, I think that they're going to, we're kind of done with David. I like David personally, as far as the Doctor's concerned, but I think it can run its course too much. I think that's
one point I just want to quickly make, because we are talking spinoffs and companions and all that kind of stuff. I am super excited that we are gonna see Wilf one more time.
Yes.
So we were able, because I remember always wondering, why on earth is he filming this beforehand and not shooting? And then we find out, it's 14 and 15. But knowing that we're getting Wilf one more time, it's bittersweet. But I'm so excited to see it.
Yeah, one more time, one last time.
Exactly, which is wonderful. It is, and he's in a wheelchair, but you know what? It's still more Wilf, which is wonderful. So
it's Wilf surrounded by a version of the Doctor and Donna. So you already know that I can't wait for him just to crack back at his granddaughter. I cannot wait.
It's going to be awesome. It is really going to be a lot of fun, whatever we come up with. And you know what? Any, wild shots that, off the hip, anything you guys would think, oh, this would make a great spin-off.
How have we not mentioned Elton Pope yet?
No.
Oh, love and monsters.
How could we have missed that?
What was it? The ELO gang? What was the name they called? Linda gang.
Linda.
Not Linda with a Y. Not Linda with a Y.
Come on, if we're gonna do a companion thing where they're all counseling or whatever, he could be there getting coffee for people and stuff.
He pulls the tile of his girlfriend's head out.
Right. Using her as a coaster.
Oh. He used her for other things, so it's okay.
It's her love life. Use your imagination at this point.
Exactly. Didn't need to go there, but hey, what the hell?
He brought it up.
From the hip.
I know, I did. But it's interesting too, because we got some great stuff ahead of us, folks. And whatever they do come up with as a spinoff, we'll be there. We'll talk about it. Probably next year at DragonCon, we'll be having panels on it. So I think it's pretty awesome with that. And you know what? We've got a little more time. And, with it, do you want to see, in the spin-offs, whatever we come up with, do we want to see whoever the current Doctor is at the time appearing in the spin-offs at all, like crossovers?
I don't have a problem with that.
Why not?
I mean, why not?
The best thing of that, that class was Capaldi showing up. That was my favorite part of class.
But you also had Tennant and Matt Smith showing up in Sarah Jane Adventures.
Yeah.
Which was awesome. And
I kind of like it. It just gives that continuity, that connection. It ties the bonds a little bit together. And to see, because people have been crying for a matchup, for companions that weren't with their doctors. Like every time I hear something like they want to have Ten and Donna just match up one time, just to see these random matchups that they weren't the companions for this Doctor, but let's move them to this Doctor and see what would happen. How would Tegan handle 11? At some point, we're going to be seeing Bonnie Langford return as Melanie. How is she doing things? It was Big Finish who finally gave her the leeway to express what her character should have been done in the show Prime. They finally gave her the computer skills. They finally gave Perry the botany skills, with the exception of the Trial of the Time Lord. I mean, they were finally expanding, and they weren't screaming. They were actually being very playful because they were given the dialogue that they needed for the show. And hopefully when they were...
As long as Bonnie doesn't do carrot juice with, Shooty's Doctor, I'll be fine with that.
Oh, it's happening. Oh. There's going to be an exercise bike and some carrot juice ready for him. And he said, "Nah, you don't need it."
You don't need that. But it's going to be a lot of fun, folks. And, thank you of course, to the BritTracks for letting us ramble for the last, almost hour. And, definitely BritTracks, thank you so much. Caro and her team always do a great job at the con. And, thank the volunteers. Thank everybody who's involved with it. And let's thank everybody in here who has a chance. Christian, you want to promote your stuff?
Absolutely. I always do. Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, youtube.com, The Legend of the Traveling TARDIS, and our Facebook page, The Traveling TARDIS, facebook.com, and also on our Instagram at The Traveling TARDIS. We do put out content every Tuesday live, so you can chat with us. So if we do have a guest with us, you're more than welcome to chat with us along them. Plus, we're reviewing currently Christopher Eccleston's series, and when we get closer to the 60th, we're going to be doing the holiday specials. Phantasmagoria will be returning to do a special. I don't know if you know about them, but you're more than welcome to check them out and watch them live. They do a spectacular performance in Doctor Who fashion, as well as the Traveling TARDIS will be returning to Halloween Horror Nights. And we're doing a special. But all I'm going to say is this, because we're still working on it. Think about a Dalek doing paranormal research. That's all I'm going to say.
That's enough for that. Thank you, my friend.
You got it, brother.
Melanie, do you want to promote your artwork?
Sure. So I can be found here at Pieces of Melee. Usually I'm on Instagram more than anything. There's just too many social medias, and I'm too old to keep track of them all. Otherwise, you can find me on Tuesdays along with this guy over here for the Traveling TARDIS. And then sometimes these fine folks invite me over to talk Doctor Who too, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, Pieces of Melee is where you can find me, mostly Instagram, but I have a website and it's the same thing.
There you go. Awesome. And of course, Mr. Mike Gordon, we made it through another one, my friend.
We did, and as always, it's my pleasure.
Anything you want to promote? You want to talk about any of the other podcasts or anything? Or your project?
Sure. Obviously, you can find me on our Station Who or Station One, which is the show we've been doing for 13 years now, I think, right?
13 and a half now.
13 and a half. And we do that every week. And that's a lot of fun. The Dragon Con Report podcast. And also, you can check on my various other projects at newlegendmike.com.
And Mr. Mike, where can they find you at Dragon Con?
They can find me in the Comic and Pop Artist Alley. I should be there. I'm not sure my table number is as of this recording, but I'll be there.
So just walk through Artist Alley going, Tiki Zombie! Tiki Zombie!
Yes.
You will get a lot of attention if you do that. It'll be And Miss Mary Ogle, always great to have you.
Thank you for having me. You can find me co-hosting Earth Station Who occasionally on Earth Station 1. And you can find my artwork at maryogle.com.
Awesome. Please check it out. She's an amazing artist, folks. We have two very talented artists on the show. So, check out both their work. It's definitely worth checking out.
Mary Ogle.
Exactly. This way, we're like Scarecrow and everything. But
That's so bad. I'm like,
please check
one
out
right there.
Station Who. We come to you every other week, and we are available anywhere fine podcasts are found. We talk all things Doctor Who. Leading up to the 60th anniversary, we're finishing up our reviews of all the David Tennant and Catherine Tate episodes. So we're doing reviews on that. And, when the new series comes on, we'll be doing those weekly. So definitely check it out. And we do Big Finish, we do comics, we do books, we do anything dealing with Doctor Who. A couple weeks ago, we looked at a Doctor Who documentary, Doctor Who Am I? So definitely, you never know what we're going to be talking about. And you know what, folks? It's a ton of fun. Join us up on, YouTube or up on Facebook, anywhere you think of, we're up there. So definitely check us out. Thanks so much. Thank you to our friends over at BritTrack. We do appreciate you. We love having Earth Station Who part of it for many, many years now. And thank you for bringing us back again. As we like to say, bye, guys. Let's all wave to the camera.
Thank you.
Thanks.